Well, I rank my vote because I think it's a good option for voters, for citizens to choose their preferred candidate, but yet have a second option to be able to also bring someone that might not be your favorite, but also has a similar views and policies that you agree in some way.
Me as a voter, I felt good about voting for multiple people that I did have a connection with in regards to certain issues.
I rank my choice because I think it's very important in the election cycle so that it's not necessarily candidates attacking each other, because it's very possible that you might get the second rank, but then you'd still be kind of able to be, counted the next time round. And so I think it makes it a fairer process actually in the process where people are going out and trying to get the vote.
Given ranked choice voting, it wasn't as difficult to determine who to vote for because I could vote one first choice, one second choice. It made it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it was an easy and convenient thing to do. I think it was good.
St. Paul began the conversation about ranked choice voting as soon as Minneapolis had adopted it in 2006. It was a ballot measure and won with about 52% of the vote, and it was first implemented in 2011. Fair Vote Minnesota is a nonprofit organization that advocates for ranked choice voting and better elections. We make sure that on all fronts, the community is well prepared for Election Day.
I've always been interested in politics, and I was familiar with ranked choice voting from its use in Minneapolis and from its use in my hometown as well, and thought it was something worth telling people about. I think at the core of what we're trying to do is sharing factual information as we can give people, and that'll hopefully make the system work better.
As a member of St. Paul, I feel like it's the right thing to do, and that's why I've been advocating for it since 2009. That's why I work with school groups and students to help advocate to adults as it's part of the Minnesota curriculum, that students get exposed to different voting methods, and the more we do to get that out, the better.
The thing that's most attractive about ranked choice is that it has a moderating influence on the candidates. Because candidates will try for second place votes as well as first place votes, they're less likely to campaign negatively or bash other candidates. And I would just like to see more civility in our elections, and I think ranked choice really promotes that.
Well, I think that Fair Vote Minnesota and everybody who is an advocate for ranked choice voting has educated candidates that in order to win in a ranked choice voting election, you need to build a broad and diverse coalition.
It's so much easier and more friendly to say, if I can't have your first choice, can I have your second choice vote? And it helps the conversation kind of leave still on a positive note.
In this race in 2015, it was amazing to see people receive a negative mailing about a candidate and then immediately go to Facebook and complain about it. That doesn't happen usually. People just consume that negative information and aren't put off by it. But in the Ward 2 race this year in St. Paul in 2015, voters reacted, and they reacted strongly when that negative election or that negative campaigning was injected, because they weren't seeing it from the candidates themselves, and it really felt, I think, out of place.
Under a ranked choice voting system, the candidates themselves were actually, I think, much more positive and cordial to each other than they would have been otherwise. But it is true that the independent expenditures were free to do any kind of negative campaigning, and I certainly came under attack multiple times. You saw the power of ranked choice voting in the sense that those candidates who did choose themselves to go negative ended up being damaged by it. Candidates who chose to run entirely against another candidate as opposed to for themselves ended up not getting second and third choice votes.
That's why ranked choice voting is awesome, because you get to vote for really what you want and have that backup sort of, if I don't get what I want on election day, then there's a runoff, and I know what my second choice is going to be. It worked great. And it's a really clear testament that if all the other wards want to see that kind of voter engagement, that kind of representation, they need to have multiple candidates taking it seriously.
Actually, this year was probably the best election in the 14 years that I've been here.
In 2015, in Ward 2, voters were presented with an opportunity to rank their ballot, and they were excited to have that kind of power. They really could think for themselves about the strength of each and every candidate and then make their first, second, and third choices, which is a wonderful exercise in democracy.